Sweet Charity is a great episode of Everybody Loves Raymond. We have some interesting character behaviours and it could encourage people to be charitable as well. So all round, a pretty solid experience. This is the 16th episode of Season 7. It's directed by Zaks, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode chronologically and share some thoughts. So this one starts off with Ray and Debra at home. Debra comes into the house. Ray is on the phone with the TV people and clearly he's not very happy. But Debra has had a good evening. She signed up for some charitable events and she also signed Ray up to volunteer at the hospital. And Ray doesn't want to do this and she kind of makes him feel guilty. In a way she does. In a way Ray makes himself feel guilty, and ultimately Ray decides he's going to have to go through with this. We then cut immediately to Ray entering the hospital. It's not an elaborate set. We basically have the hospital corridor and I think 2 other rooms, but it's a nice space. I think they did a good job of making us feel like we're in a hospital without needing an extensive set. And he's signing in at the desk and he gets quite queasy as people are just slapping down bags of blood beside him, which doesn't seem very hygienic, but nevertheless, this is what's happening. And he's very, very queasy. But then he goes to talk with a patient, and she said that she'd take her pills if he fixes the radio. He doesn't know how to fix the radio. But then he finds a way to convince her, and they bond over sports, and it's a really nice moment. And for a brief second, we feel like maybe Ray could actually enjoy doing this. Maybe it's partly because he's found a patient who likes sports and they can connect over something. And maybe it could actually be a really good thing. He comes home and all of the adults are there. Ray, Robert, obviously Ray's there, Robert, Frank, Marie and Debra. And he's clearly having a great time. Everybody is loving Ray's volunteering. They're giving him a lot of praise for doing this. Well, maybe not Robert. Robert's maybe not so happy about this. And Ray is actually planning on going back on a night later on. But actually, that's a night that Debra is doing something for the homeless. And we get into a bit of an argument there about whether volunteering for the homeless is more or less important than volunteering at a hospital. And I feel like there are benefits to both. So I don't think there's a proper conclusion there. But certainly Ray wants to do this, which I think is a really great thing. And as Debra pointed out, she is the one who made Ray do this. So it's only fair that Ray gets to go to the hospital because he's doing this because of her anyway. So reluctantly, she says Ray can go and volunteer at the hospital again, which is fair. And Robert then presents Ray with a plunger as an award for his volunteering, which is basically telling you all you need to know about where Robert's head is at. We then cut to Ray going back to the hospital, and Robert is already there with traffic cop Timmy. This is, of course, Robert's ventriloquist dummy, and he's a hit. He's performing to a room full of people and everybody's really thoroughly enjoying traffic cop Timmy. Nobody is interested in what Ray Barone has to say, and Ray then goes home obviously really upset by this. He whinges to Debra, and then we kind of realise that he is volunteering purely for selfish reasons. Now, does that matter? If he's only going because he feels loved and appreciated, not because he likes to help people. If he's still there and helping people, does the motivation matter? And I don't necessarily have an answer to that question. I feel like my answer, if I had to provide an answer, my answer would be, on earth, it doesn't matter. Because if you're helping people, you're helping people. But spiritually, speaking as a religious person, I feel like I wouldn't get the glory points in heaven for volunteering on earth if I was doing it for selfish reasons. So it depends on your perspective there. But I don't mind that Ray was doing it for selfish reasons, because if he's helping people, then so be it. Whatever his motivation doesn't really matter. But it was nice to kind of have that established. Robert then comes over. Obviously, he's really happy with how things went. And then we find out that Debra suggested Robert goes over there to the hospital with Timmy. And there are a few great things about this scene. The first thing is that I don't know whether I believe Debra meant this maliciously because she wants Ray at home so she can go to her volunteering, or if she genuinely just thought Robert could help out as well. And I feel like it's a bit of both. So it definitely made me think quite a lot about Debra's actions there. And I think it was probably a bit of both. Yes, encouraging Robert to help out is a great thing. But if there's the added benefit, then it means Ray stays at home so she can go and volunteer somewhere, then that's a win-win for Debra. So I think there's a bit of both there. And what I also really love about this scene, not just that it made me think a lot, but also that Debra realizes she was in the wrong. And that also makes me think, yeah, there was definitely a selfish motivation there, which also suggests that Ray's not the only one acting selfishly. Debra, in the earlier seasons, so often would fly off of the handle, even when, in my opinion, she was in the wrong. But in recent seasons, particularly this season, Debra seems to be more aware of when she's the one in the wrong. And that's certainly the case in this scene. So I think Debra here was very, very fascinating. And of course, that's some great character development from Debra across not just this season, but all of the seasons. It's really great to see that over the years, she's becoming a little more aware of the fact that maybe sometimes not everything is Ray's fault. And it's nice to see that. And then we end the episode with Debra singing in the hospital, and they don't care. They're not interested. So yeah, it's a decent episode. As I said, it could encourage people to volunteer, not necessarily at a hospital if that's not their thing, but it could make people question whether they could do things. And does the motivation matter? If anybody has any strong opinions on that, I'd love to know. As I said, for me, on Earth, it doesn't matter. Spiritually, it kind of does. So it depends on what you're looking at there. Great episode, great dialogue, some great character moments. Ultimately, Sweet Charity is a brilliant episode of Everybody Loves Raymond.